Hello and welcome to the Talk Villa podcast. I'm your host Samit Paul, and in today's episode we're looking back at Aston Villa's thrilling 3-2 win over West Ham on Sunday. Villa twice fell behind at the London Stadium, going 1-0 down after just 29 seconds before trailing at the break 2-1. However, another inspired comeback win was sparked by Morgan Rogers this time, who scored a superb double in the second half, and that now makes it 9 consecutive Villa wins across all competitions. As with every game, I'll be discussing my 5 key talking points as we have a deeper dive into the win over West Ham. But first, let's have a listen to the boss, Unai Emery, and his thoughts on our win as he spoke to Villa TV after the game.
Thankful for our supporters. They are with us here today, out of supporters, and of course, we felt it, how they are pushing us to get a victory, a new victory. Of course, we struggled, we started a little poor like the season, but we reacted like the season, fantastic. And the players, they are protagonists, and of course, after how we can feel strong in our structure tactically, feel comfortable each one with their task, then try to show their qualities. But after, to get our structure strong, tactically, discipline, and then play football. Of course, how we are in our mentality as we're responding when we are losing, like today, we started 2 times, we were behind them in the result, how we came back in that moment. Those goals, I think, is fantastic because we were getting balance, even losing, and keeping our game plan like we planned before the match. And the dressing room in the first half, we were speaking about it. Keep calm, focus again the second half, the game plan. Of course, if someone had some problem, we could change, but we were feeling in that moment the way it was like that, and follow the game plan, focus in it, try to be consistent, try to be demanding, resilient like we were. Of course, if we were scoring 1 goal like we scored so quick in the second half, was better, and we achieved it. And after it, again, we felt comfortable on the field. And when we scored the first goal, I think the better way we showed with the last 20 minutes was defending, but with the ball. And of course, this is one step forward. Today, the team showed.
That was Unai Emery speaking to Villa TV after our 3-2 win over West Ham. So on to my 5 key talking points then, and we'll start with this week's goal-scoring hero, and that is of course Morgan Rogers, after his decisive brace helped seal our comeback win. Now, from desperately struggling for form to start the season, he's starting to return to the role of being a driving force in our pursuit of success. I think Rogers deserves so much credit for the personal turnaround that we've seen from him in the past couple of months. I remember he was sarcastically cheered in our Europa League game against Bologna at home at Villa Park for completing a pass. That was how bad things had got at one point, where he just couldn't get it to stick. His passes were off, his dribbling was off, he couldn't link up players effectively as we know he can. Obviously, of course, he was not really much of a goal-scoring threat at that stage either, but he's shown character, resilience and determination to get himself out of that rut. And of course, he's been backed by Unai Emery to do so with unwavering faith. He said at the time in his press conferences and his interviews that Rogers would have to play his way through this difficult period of his career early on. He's played him, he's not dropped him, he's shown faith, and Rogers has rewarded him for that with a positive influence on our play, and he's again emerging as a decisive figure for us. He scored 2 excellent goals on Sunday, the second of which was an absolute rocket with that technique of his to strike the ball becoming a trademark of his. And it's hoped that he can keep building on this form, because the better he plays, the better we play. You see how influential he can be, finding pockets of space between the lines in the final third, turning with intent, attacking defenders, and his shooting from distance and his positioning in the box. He's ticking all the boxes again, and it's just great to see him return to form. So credit to Rogers, massive turnaround from him, and hopefully he can keep going. On to the second point, and that is Victor Lindelof stepping in to fill an important void. Now, filling a Pau Torres-shaped void is not an easy task. Not only have Villa, I feel, looked more defensively solid with him this season, he's improved his defensive game with his physicality and ability to win duels with attackers. He's obviously established a critical partnership with Ezri Konsa in the heart of that back line as well. And then you add his composure and his quality in possession. That is very hard to replicate in that left-sided centre-half role and position. That said, Victor Lindelof has done a pretty good job of it this week, having deputised in the last 2 games. I think defensively, there is certainly room for improvement. As a collective, I thought we dug ourselves a hole on Sunday. We shot ourselves in the foot twice by letting West Ham score 2 really poor goals. and we almost got punished for it by dropping points. However, Lindelof looks like a really savvy pickup on a free transfer this past summer, taking into account his defensive capabilities, but also the pass that set up Rodgers for his winner. It was Pau-esque in terms of the vision that he showed to play it through the lines, found a passing lane through the middle, and it's the way that Emery wants to break teams down. So I think Lindelof has settled in really well. He's proven himself in the last couple of games, and with Pau, we'll come to his injury concern in a minute, but with Lindelof likely to continue playing in the upcoming games, it's good to see him establishing himself and performing well. On to the third point, and that is an uncharacteristic poor Ezri Konsa display. Now, given he's been consistently exceptional for us now for a long time, there's no need to be too critical of Konsa, and we can chalk this up as a really poor day at the office for him from his high standards. He was dispossessed cheaply for the opening goal before Jared Bowen was played onside by Konsa for the second after he initially failed to clear the danger properly. And he himself even held his hands up in a joking manner as he conceded on Instagram that he was thankful to Morgan Rodgers for bailing him out. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he bounces back and puts in a stellar performance against Man United next weekend. But I feel as though this might have perhaps reiterated just how important he is in terms of setting the standard defensively and leading by example for the rest of the back line. He needs to be at the top level he normally is, and this was just an unfortunate dip for him, and hopefully he'll bounce back next weekend, which again, like I said, I'm sure he will. Speaking of Pau and Emi Martinez, who are both missing this weekend due to injury, Emery gave us an update after the game. Martinez could recover in time to face Manchester United, but Emery did concede that Pau might need a little longer. He suggested that it might be 2 weeks for him to fully recover and be back available for selection. So that puts his participation against United and Chelsea in doubt. There's only 6 days or so, I think, between those two games. And although Lindelof, as I've just praised him, he has proven to be a more than capable stand-in so far. It would be a massive boost for us to get Pau back available sooner rather than later, given how important and influential he is. Like I say, not only in possession and his ability to play out from the back, but we've seen that partnership with Konsa flourish again this season. And I just feel as though we've got a really settled and solid back line when we've got Pau and Konsa, and whether it's Dean or Maatsen at left back and Matty Cash on the right. It's a really strong back line, and hopefully we get to restore that sooner rather than later. On to the fifth and final point, and that is Unai Emery dismissing talk of pressure. Now, the longer Villa keep winning, the two words that will be mentioned more and more will obviously be title contenders. Personally, for me, at this stage of the season, there's only 16 games gone. I'm still looking down the table to see what cushion we've got over the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, and perhaps some surprise packages that could be in the battle for Champions League qualification spots, with the likes of Tottenham and Newcastle struggling. We are setting a really crucial pace in that particular scrap, and I think the longer this run goes on, the more confidence builds that we can get back to the Champions League next season. We're in with a shout with the title when it comes to match day 30 onwards, as Emery has said. Then we'll see. Then we can talk up our chances. We can start to appreciate and accept that we're in a different race, and why not go for it. But I think for now, it's important just to continue on the path that we've been on, focus on the next game, rest after each game. It's got a grueling schedule that continues in the next coming weeks. We've got a nice little mini break, as it were, this week until the United game. But after that, things kick up again. So all about resting, recovering, regrouping, and just focusing on the next game. As I said, Emery not bothered by the talk of pressure after the West Ham game. He spoke to the media, and hopefully that has a knock-on effect to the players as well. Emery said, "We're not feeling under pressure, we are feeling ambitious, and we try to challenge in Europe and in the Premier League. Enjoy each match, try to prepare, then rest. The players must feel comfortable doing it. This is the process we are doing. Now it is Manchester United next Sunday." So again, focus is just on recovering and the next game up. That's all that we need to pay attention to, and we'll let all the noise and whatnot build around us and focus on what we have to do. So that's a wrap on this episode of the Talk Villa podcast. A big thank you for listening, as always. I really appreciate all of you taking the time to tune in. Please subscribe to the pod or channel, depending on where you're listening, either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Give the episode a like or leave a review if you've enjoyed it. Sign up to the Talk Villa Plus newsletter on Substack for ad-free Villa news, opinions, and analysis, which is all directly delivered to you. And there's also an option of a paid subscription for bonus content. All the details will be in the description of this podcast, but for more, please go to talkvilla.substack.com and subscribe. So as I said, that's now 9 consecutive wins across all competitions, 6 on the bounce in the Premier League. We remain in third place. Of course, for those looking up, we're still just 3 points behind leaders Arsenal. But as I mentioned, we are maintaining that 5-point cushion over Chelsea in fourth. And it's really important that we continue to have that buffer in our pursuit of a Champions League qualification spot. It is Manchester United next on Sunday as we look to keep our winning run going and simultaneously continue to build our lead over a potential rival in that top 4, top 5 race. We know our history with Manchester United. We thought we may have turned a corner after Emery's appointment. Disappointment is still fresh from last season, how it ended and how we missed out on the top 5, top 4 for Champions League. So you could argue we owe them one, but it's important just to focus on the task at hand, and hopefully we get 3 more points to continue this important run going into that Chelsea game, which is next after that. I'll be back next Monday to discuss that game and hopefully another win against Man United, and all the big talking points from the week. We're obviously edging closer to the January transfer window as well, so we may have some big transfer news to talk about. We obviously heard about the possibility of Alisson joining from Gremio, and there's also an interesting potential transfer window from many angles. You've got the first one under the new president of football operations, Roberto Alabe. So we want to see what influence he has and what strategy we adopt under his guidance and what kind of targets we're looking at. Alisson is potentially a big hint as to the market that we're going to be in. But also with where we are at in the league, in the Europa League, in our pursuit of silverware and success this season, yes, it's going to depend on the financial position and situation. How much room for manoeuvre have we got? But will there be a push from Emery to the board and to the owners to really go for it in this upcoming transfer window, improve and strengthen where we need to, build on this start to the season that we've had in the first half of the campaign, and really, really push on in the second half? So fascinating transfer window coming up. But prior to that, as I say, and as Emery said, as everybody concerned has said, focus is on Manchester United this next weekend, and we'll be back to discuss that next Monday. So until then, up the Villa.